morning, Grace College. Wow, thanks. Hey, Jordan. Can we welcome our visitors? Yay. So I'm going to give a really quick recap of chapel this week. If you weren't here Tuesday, you really missed it. We all held really weird animals. Definitely put us out of our comfort zone. I still have chinchilla fur all over my clothes. And then yesterday, we got to hear from Kyle Brenneman and Martin, and that was really cool just to hear about God's Word and what it has to say about stepping out of our comfort zones and how the Lord is just with us in that. Today, we have a couple really cool opportunities to hear from our own students, 3 of them. Max, who is on our chapel team, is a senior, and his major is marketing. Yeah, yay, Max, marketing. And Chewy is a first-year student, and his major is urban ministries. And then we also have Blythe, who is a 4th-year senior, wherever she's at. She's a French major. That's really cool. But before we have our speakers come up, we have a really not cool video to show you. So.
Just picked up Elle, and we're about to play a game called 20 Decisions, which is 20 questions, but we're making decisions. So Elle is about to make 20 decisions for me.
In a row?
Kind of. It's gonna be fun. First decision. We're starting right away.
Okay.
I have to go to the store. What store are we gonna go to?
What do you need?
I'm not gonna tell you that.
I get no context.
Nope, no context. You have to pick out the store.
Owens.
Okay, we're going to Owens. Not gotten very far, but question number 2. Elle, what music should we listen to?
Jonas Brothers.
Okay. Decision number 3, Elle, should we get a cart or no?
Get a basket.
Okay. Do I want Fuji or Honeycrisp?
Which is which?
These are Honeycrisp, and these are Fuji. No, these are Fuji. That one? Elle, come with me to pump gas, because I don't know how to do it. I think we need ice cream. Where should we go for ice cream?
Let's go to Culver's.
Sweet. I wanted to go there.
With peanut butter cups and peanut butter? So extra.
Pick a show.
Ooh, this one's called 73 Questions. We should watch that one.
Okay.
Do you have thieves?
Yeah.
That one.
Okay. Should I sit? Are you happy? Clock's a ticking.
Okay, alright. If you go on feel free, you can follow each. But if you go first floor.
Okay. That one? Okay. Elle, do you think we should do face masks?
What kind of
Or should I do one?
You should do it.
I should do one. Should I do a sheet mask or a scrub?
I don't know what the a scrub.
A scrub. Okay. I, for one, never looked better. I just asked Elle to post, to caption a post for me, and she did. What did you caption it?
Do not be fooled.
The wink.
We're actually all very stressed out.
Elle.
I get wiser when I'm higher. That sounds so bad. I didn't mean the bad drug one. I meant elevation.
What should I have for breakfast?
No.
Okay.
It's supposed to be very cold, right?
Mm-hmm. Elle, are you ready for
I'm so ready.
number 20? This is a doozy. What should I name my firstborn?
it's a girl, if it's a guy, do I pick two?
Sure.
If it's a girl, L. If it's a guy, L. This. I'm done.
Hello. It is the day after I played 20 Decisions with Emily. I'm very happy to be done, but there were a few good things that I learned. One of them being that within this setting I couldn't really make a wrong decision, and I caught myself putting this pressure of if you don't choose the right thing, then it's gonna go wrong. I realized that I do that a lot, so it's good to catch myself and realize that that pressure is unnecessary and that I can just make a decision and things are going to be okay. I can have a little more confidence. The other thing I learned was how quickly things happened when I just did choose something. I spend a lot of time worrying about what the other person wants and if it's okay and if I'm doing what they need, which is a good thing, but it is also good to be able to just choose and make things happen. So those were the two biggest things I learned. The hardest question for me was choosing Emily's ice cream because I genuinely didn't know what she wanted, and when she asked me, I just did not want to choose. I just wanted her to pick it. I wanted her to be able to enjoy the ice cream, but what I chose was something she liked, and so that was also another encouragement of just choosing and trusting that everything is going to be okay. So I think this was a really good exercise, a small practical way to grow in decision making and be uncomfortable, but also see that God still got it and everything's going to be good.
Hey, I appreciate that. Hi, guys. My name's Max, and we've had the opportunity to hear from the rest of the chapel team this week, so it's only fair that I get to share with you guys too. So, to kind of start it off, we've been talking about comfort zones and stepping out of those. And to properly kind of explain me stepping out of my comfort zone, I'm going to explain my comfort zone. So, my comfort zone is my family. And the reason I say that is they pretty much are the closest thing that I have. Like, they mean the most to me, probably on this earth. And we've been through so much, and I think that's why they are my comfort zone. I come from a broken family. My parents got divorced when I was in the fourth grade, and that pretty much sent our lives into a spiral for about 5 years. So for 3 of those, we didn't know if we were going to lose our house. We couldn't really afford to eat anything other than ramen noodles. My mom was working second and third shift, taking care of 2 kids, and it was really hard. Thankfully, I can say that the Lord has really lifted my family out of a pit, and if I explained to you the full extent of the situation, you wouldn't really believe where we are today. So my family means a lot, and I accepted Christ when I was in the 6th grade, so my parents got divorced in the 2nd grade, or when I was in the 4th grade, I'm sorry. And so in the 6th grade, I went on a trip to Kalahari, and I accepted Christ. And from pretty much the 6th grade on, so for the next 8 years of my life, I was the only Christian, and still am the only Christian in my family. And my comfort zone is my family, and pretty much the worst thing that I could think of is making my family uncomfortable, because those are the people I spend most of my time with. And so from 6th grade, I started trying to share Christ with my family, and I promptly, essentially got rejected by the people that meant the most to me. So from the age of 13 years old, I started to pray every day that God would soften my family's heart, and that you would just somehow show them who you are. And since I was so young in my faith, I didn't really know how that would happen. But over the next 7 years, the Lord worked in my family through me, in just kind of the way that I lived. And so to kind of provide some contrast, 8 years ago, I couldn't talk about my faith or what I believed in front of my family without them being like, we don't care, we really don't want to hear it. And now, 7 years later, theological discussion is a really common thing in my household. While my family still aren't Christians, they're really receptive to the Word of God. They like it. They really like Jesus. And I know this is kind of an interesting picture of someone stepping out of their comfort zone, but for the last 7 years, I've essentially been trying to talk to my family about something that they really didn't want to hear. And for a long time, they weren't receptive to it. But kind of in that, it was so valuable because I'm the only person who I think they would listen to those words. And it's just really been an amazing experience. So I really didn't have a formal conclusion to this, and I maybe should have, but I want to welcome or invite Chewy Lara to come up. He's going to be the next person that talks about his comfort zone. But thank you, guys.
All right, so I'm sorry if I mess up. I'm really nervous, okay? So I mean, growing up, it was never really hard for me to like step out of my comfort zone. I mean, us Latinos are like really like open to anything and anyone at all times. So yeah, I never had trouble stepping out of my comfort zone. And a couple of years ago, I gave my life to Christ, and like, I knew there was something missing when that happened because it was like God telling me, okay, Chewy, there's something going on. There's something missing. And I knew I would go on mission trips and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, God and everything. But, like, the thing that I was missing was stepping out of my comfort zone when it came to Jesus. I would talk to people about Jesus and stuff, but, like, sometimes I was too scared, and, like, I just didn't want to do it. So I was just like, okay, like, I'm good, you know? I remember one night at youth group, my youth pastor said this line, and it was, it's not about you. And like he said other stuff with it as well, but that line he said, it's not about you. And like that really like stuck to me ever since he said it. And so ever since that, like the second or third time I went to Urban Hope in Philadelphia, I was just I just kept that in my head, you know. And like, I mean, there's obviously different people there you meet every day, and I kept that line in my head, and that really helped me and pushed me to just reach out to people for God and stuff, and like, so that really like pushed me out of my comfort zone. So ever since that, like, I mean, I really like thank God, and my youth pastor as well for saying that, but like, I thank God for just like pushing me harder and harder every day to keep pursuing God as much as I can. So yeah, that's all I got. So now let's welcome Blythe.
Hey everyone, I'm Blythe. I'm a fourth year senior, and I'm also a French major. And so part of being a French major at Grace means you have to study abroad for a year in either Dijon, France, or Quebec, Canada. So yeah, that's where this story's gonna go. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I mean, we've heard this entire week that we need to step out of our comfort zone. And some of the different reasons why I really like stepping out of my comfort zone is because it allows me to know more about myself, what I think is important. It allows me to grow, and it shows me like gifts that God's given me that I might not have known of before. So to start with, I am a major homebody. My first 2 years at Grace, I went home probably every other weekend. So the thought about going to France, where it is a 6-hour time difference, an 8-hour flight, and absolutely no family, was like, and not great, because my family and my friends are super important to me. And I knew it was necessary to gain language, though, for me at least. I wouldn't have the ability to learn another language if I didn't immerse myself in the language. And so I put myself in the position of studying abroad for 2 semesters. People often ask when I would say, oh, I'm studying abroad next year, they would say, oh, are you super excited? And I'd say, haha, no, not really. It sounds awful to me. And I thought, I really tried to have a good perspective. Yesterday, Martin talked a little bit about the perspective you have is super important when going through hard things and when pushing yourself to grow. And so I went and I was like, oh, I'm here because the Lord has me here and because he has something to teach me. But really in my head, I was like, God, I don't want to be here. Like, I have no interest in what you have to show me. I prayed for friends, but I was kind of like, I'm probably not going to make any friends because I'm only here for 8 months. And so, so I went in thinking, oh, I have this great perspective. It's going to be great. And it wasn't. November of 2018 was probably one of the hardest years of my life. I was very sad. I did not want to be in France. I actually started hating France just because I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to hear the language. I didn't want to be around those people. Most of my friends who were there didn't understand because they weren't as homesick as I was. And so I started calling home a lot. And while I was there, I just kept thinking, if I don't stick this through, I'll always question, could I have done it? Could I have made it through those 8 months? And so through talking with Professor Schramm and my parents and friends from here, they really encouraged me to stay there. And so I did decide to stay there. And in January, I had a conversation with one of my cousins, and she was like, well, how's your time in France? And I was like, it sucks. I don't want to be here. And she really encouraged me. She said, I really think you should be praying God to bring specific people into your life in specific areas. So if you're at the Bible study, ask him to bring you friends there. If you're at school, ask him to bring you friends there. And ask him to show you why you're there. And I was like, dang it, she's right. So I started doing that, and now I have friends who I still keep in contact with, whether friends from Grace who I didn't know before or friends in France. I have a German friend who I still talk to a little bit, a friend who lives in Washington, a friend who lives in Oregon. I stepped out of my comfort zone and decided to sing on the worship band at church in France in French. That was interesting, but it was really fun, and the band was awesome. We'd get up and be there 3 hours before church, sing for 3 hours, and then sing for an hour at church. And I was like, wow, I don't have a voice. I led a Bible study in French with the college Bible study group. And I was also in a play based on the book of Mark that was 15 other French students, and we just came together, and the script was already written. We didn't write it. But once I actually started opening myself up to the possibility of God using me there, he brought so many opportunities for me to be used. And I found a community. I found a home. And those opportunities haven't stopped since, which is a little exhausting sometimes, but now I'm an RA in Westy. And my Westy gals. I didn't want to do that. I was terrified out of my mind at the thought of being an RA. But again, I just had people stand behind me and encourage me to do it. I have just opportunity after opportunity have come up. Rachel McGregor, who's the RD of Indy, and I put together a fundraiser for the Bahamas that raised over $16,000, and it was incredible. We were able to send that money over. I'm working with French Club, which is definitely something I don't normally do. I sang in cabaret, which I know I said I sang on the chapel band, but I don't sing in front of people. That doesn't happen. And so that was really hard. But looking back, I can see different ways that I've grown, and when opportunities arise for difficult conversations or for new opportunities, I get really excited and I lean into it now because of the opportunities and the experiences that God gave me in France. So I just wanted to encourage you guys, don't limit yourself by saying I can't do that, because you don't know what you can do unless you try it. When you push yourself to do something hard, you really will grow from it. It's not fun. It doesn't get easier. But don't let that fear of uncomfortableness or failure stop you from doing anything different. And they can lead to really beautiful friendships and communities. And just finally, surround yourself with people who will support you and encourage you to grow. You get to choose the community you have around you, and my community made all the difference in the world to me. So, thanks.
Thanks so much, Blythe. Let's give one more hand for the students that we're sharing today. Yeah, thank you guys so much for being with us this week. This has been a really cool conversation that I was excited about entering, something that I thought was important and thought that a lot of students could possibly relate to. Elle talked a little bit about how the week went. I do want to reiterate a little bit. For the guests that are here today, on Tuesday, we brought in a bunch of animals, which is something that we haven't done before. Some of them were fun and friendly, like we had a chinchilla. We also had a snake that we brought in, and some lizards. At one point, they put a snake over Max's shoulders, and it started slithering down his sleeves. Not the most fun thing in the world. So that was a fun illustration of what it's like to get out of your comfort zone in possibly a safe or controlled environment. So Mark was talking to us about how those are totally safe animals that he has used several times in helping illustrate what those animals are like. And so being able to engage with them in a controlled environment and in a fun way, that was a really good way of explaining that you can engage with things and you can embrace things that are uncomfortable or different, and the more that you learn about them, the better they are. So that was a really, really fun chapel that we had and something that we enjoyed doing. Yesterday we heard from Martin and from Kyle, and that was really cool to see two different perspectives, two different passages, and from two different people, what God has to say about comfort zones in the Bible. And so they talked about two separate passages. And as Marty talked about, how God doesn't give you something that's uncomfortable that he's not going to use eventually. If you're going through an uncomfortable time, that's for a reason, and that will be used eventually. Kyle talked about Jesus' example that he gives to us. I mean, Jesus left the most comfortable place ever. He left heaven to come live a very, very uncomfortable life for us. And that's something that we should be using as an example of how to live our lives, that we're not necessarily just finding comfort and something that we can sit in for the rest of our lives, but an example of, the Christian walk isn't comfortable. It's very uncomfortable. The videos that we showed throughout the week, so we had challenged our team with trying something that was out of their comfort zone. And we all took very different approaches of it. Some people took a funnier route. Some people took, more something that was pretty uncomfortable. Mariah had talked about how public speaking is something that she struggles with. And we've had several conversations, a couple one-on-one and a couple with groups of people, about how it's not the most comfortable thing in the world when you're putting yourself on display for others to judge how you're talking and how you're presenting yourself. But it's something that can be used. And, as she gave her introduction for the MLK luncheon, that was something that was really powerful. And she got a lot of really good feedback from, and it was a growing experience for her as she continues to learn more. For Elle, her video that she showed today. So Elle is very, very good at making good decisions, but that first step of making a decision in general is harder for her. And that's hard for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that are like, I don't want to pick where we're eating. You can pick that. I'm not going to pick that. That's up to you. And that's for sake of you don't want to make a wrong decision, or you don't want to make a decision that, people aren't going to like, but maybe they won't tell you that they don't like it to make you feel better. Remember one time we were setting up for Christmas chapel, and I said, Elle, we've got like 8 Christmas trees. Can you just pick where to put them and put them up? And she suddenly froze, and she was like, no. You tell me where to put them, and I'll put them there. And I got kind of stubborn, and I was like, no, you pick where to put the trees. And it was kind of funny to watch her squirm. I'm sorry, but it was a little funny. But, giving her those experiences of pushing that a little bit and getting more comfortable with making decisions. And she has, as we've continued working on the chapel team together, she's made more decisions, and she's made bold decisions and decisions that have been beneficial for the team and for chapel. So that video, we were trying to figure out how to showcase that, and came up with this game of 20 questions, but 20 decisions instead. So that was a more comical video of back to back. I gave her decision after decision, and she just had to make one. And, that was a safe, controlled environment that she wasn't going to make a wrong decision. But pushing those boundaries a little bit can help with growing and can help with getting more comfortable with doing things that are uncomfortable. While I didn't have a video that I showed, I did kind of think through this for probably about a month as we were developing this week, and was trying to find little situations that I was involved in, and how can I push this a little bit more? So a little thing about me, I really don't like heights, and I have a very strange, irrational fear of tunnel slides. Something about them, I feel like there's going to be a bear at the end just waiting to eat me. I think it's something with I can't see where I'm going. So for the senior trip a couple weeks ago, we went to Kalahari, which is a water park in Ohio. And I had never been to a water park, let alone an indoor water park. Most of the slides there are tunnel slides. And I got there and was like, okay, I'm just going to hang out in some of these little pools, and it's fun. I found some kids slides that were kind of fun, and I was like, if you just scoot, you go really fast, and it's a lot of fun. People were like, no, that's not fun. The big ones are fun. So after being there for the first day, the second day I was kindly peer pressured to go on one of the bigger, I think they called it a toilet slide or something. You climbed up to the top, you got in this 4-person inner tube, and then they push you into the slide, and you go down this big drop, and then around a couple times, and then down another drop. So I was climbing up, and as I'm walking up the stairs, I was just we're really high up. This isn't gonna end well. And so got up the stairs, got onto the slide, and I'm shaking as I'm getting in, and I'm no, I don't like what we're doing. And so I trusted. I was like, you know what? We're gonna do it. In a minute, we'll be done. It's gonna be fine. So we started on this slide. I was with Dustin and Jesse, and they were like, yeah, this is gonna be so much fun. I was like, no, this is not gonna be fun at all. I'm excited. And so we go down this slide, and I did it. But I was one of those really obnoxious people that screamed really, really, really loud, because that was all I knew to do the whole time. So we ended, we got under the slide, and I was still shaking and had tears in my eyes, and they were like, yeah, that was so great, how was it? I was like, that was something, all right, that was okay. And so I tried to engage with that. I tried to do something that was out of my comfort zone, and I did it, and I'm fine until I think about it, and then I start shaking again. But that's a funnier example of comfort zones, but being able to push that a little bit helped me to see that, maybe what if I did like it? What if there was something that I would have missed out on if I didn't try it? And being able to push your comfort zone a little bit. And ultimately, I do enjoy thinking back on that memory. I think it's really funny, even though it was not comfortable in the moment. Being able to push your comfort zone in little ways. Today, as our students were sharing, Blythe talked a lot about how it took making several decisions. And some of those were little and some of those were big. But the more decisions we make, the more comfortable we get with making decisions that may not be comfortable to begin with. Max talked about family and how, family is, for some of us, is the most comfortable thing that we have. And being able to push that a little bit, making your family uncomfortable, making yourself uncomfortable for the sake of Christ. That's not a fun thing to do. And I think a lot of us have experienced that with family or with close friends. It's not a fun thing to engage with, but it's important because it's salvation and it's Christ. So a couple things that I was able to take away from the week was, again, those little steps are really important. The more that we take little steps, the more comfortable we are with taking big steps. I really, really liked yesterday how we talked about Jesus' example that he sets for us of stepping out of our comfort zone. He lived an uncomfortable life. I think that it does get really easy as we're on a Christian campus with people with similar views to us to get comfortable. And, we're maybe not often engaging in arguments, or, we have a spot to come back to every day. And so it's really easy to become comfortable and not want to push it any more than we need to. Along with that, though, I do want to acknowledge that there are some people here that are stepping out of their comfort zone every day just by being here. Think about that for a second. I do want to applaud you if that is you. If you are here and this is not comfortable for you, maybe you don't have a lot of people around you who understand things that you're going through or things that are happening, and that's really important. God is going to use that at some point, I promise you. And you are living an example of Christ. Christ did not stay in what was comfortable for him. So, again, a couple takeaways. I do want you to think through that a little bit, and I do want you to think through, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice comfort? What would it look like to sacrifice comfort for the sake of others around you or for the sake of Christ's will for your life? So if you'll pray with me, and then I'll dismiss you for the day. Dear God, thank you so much for these students here and these guests and the faculty that we have with us today. I just pray that you will not let this week come and go, but that you will help us to revisit this topic and think through practically our lives and what we're doing. Are we living a comfortable life and not pushing our comfort zone for the sake of you or for the sake of others? And what are ways that we can live a life honoring to you and honoring to your will for us? I pray that you will continue to be with us as we go throughout our day and throughout finals week and spring break, and you will just continue to bless us and continue to help us to live more like you. In your name, amen. You're dismissed. Thank you.